Hello! I'm Elaine, and I'm a tour guide in the French Quarter. I do ghost tours. And I am not going to tell you the stories that I tell on my tour, because you gotta pay for those. But if you want to hear some interesting things that have happened to me while I'm leading random drunk people around the French Quarter, I got you. Another thing the French Quarter is slightly well known for is roaches and rats. If you do not know, during coronavirus lockdown, when everyone in the world was getting newspaper articles like, oh my god, the canals in Venice are having dolphins in them. In Japan, deer are running rampant through the city streets. There are goats overtaking Irish cities. In New Orleans, what we got was articles about how they needed to move the homeless people into hotels because they were afraid that the giant rats that were running rampant through the French Quarter, for a lack of useless crap on the ground to eat, they'd start attacking the homeless people. There are a lot of rats in New Orleans. One of my favorite stories about rats in New Orleans that did not happen on the tour was one night I was sitting in a restaurant down in the French Quarter with my dad, and it was a pretty nice restaurant. Like, not really nice, but a place that has won awards. And I'm sitting there just staring at the door, half, phased out, and in just waltzes a rat. Like, he walks in as if this is something he does on a regular basis. And he just sort of hangs out in the doorway as if to say, where should I sit? And the waitress sees him and makes a little shriek and calls out the cook, who then spends 10 minutes trying to brush this rat out the door with a broom and a dustpan. And this rat was not wanting to go. But on the tour, my favorite rat story has to do with, once again, I was doing a stop at a hotel, and this was once again a spot that guests are not usually scared here. This is a funny story. So I was very confused when they were giving me a slightly horrified look. And so I pause, and this time I don't have to ask, because I just look down, and sitting next to my boot, with its paws up on my boot, as if it is listening to my story, is a rat. Now, I'm not afraid of rats. I think they're actually sort of cute. So I don't shriek or anything. I just sort of look at it and go, hi, can I help you? And this cute little rat just scurries away. My guest did not, however, find it cute, so we had to move a little bit. But roaches, on the other hand, I'm terrified of. I hate them. And they are everywhere in the French Quarter. I used to tell guests that there's a certain little dance that you'll see around the fall, because around the fall there'll be a lot of leaves on the ground that are roughly the size and shape of our big palmetto bug roaches, and people will be walking down the sidewalk and go to step over a leaf, and suddenly the leaf starts moving, and they'll do this weird little half-jumping dance to avoid it. But there was one night I was doing a stop that I used to do sitting on the steps of the courthouse, because there's a lot of room there for guests to sit. And this particular night I had my guests sitting around, and I did notice when I arrived that there were a lot of leaves around. But there are trees around there, so it makes sense. And I sort of just ignored it until I was in the middle of the story, and I realized that one of the leaves is moving. And it's moving towards one of my guests. So I sort of do that, swallow, try to open my mouth to say, hey, get up. But before I can say a word, that roach ran up this guest's back. And God bless the girl, she shrieked like a demon and jumped up. And that would have been fine, except for the fact that it turns out all those leaves were not leaves. They were all roaches, and as soon as she shrieked, they all took to wing and were flying everywhere, and one of them landed on my leg and crawled up my skirt, which is why I can tell you that some of the concierges at one of the hotels has in fact seen my underwear. But overall, if you do not know, if you see a leaf on the ground in New Orleans, don't trust it's a leaf. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and thank you for listening.